Hey guys, Will back with Royal Canadian Reptiles here. We're on to vlog number 5. And this week on my Instagram, I was actually asked a question that got me thinking. And that was, if you were starting all over again, rebuilding your collection, how would you build it? So I thought we'd do a quick little video on that and get right into how I would start from scratch. So, like I said earlier, I was actually asked on Instagram how I would go about rebuilding a collection from scratch. And there are a couple things that I'd like to touch base on. Nothing too groundbreaking, nothing stuff you guys probably haven't heard before, but I think it's good to reinforce this, especially for breeders that are just thinking about starting to breed or starting to build their collection. Just a couple little things that I wanted to point out. The number one thing is to not bite off more than you can chew. So you don't want to go on a huge buying spree. And I mean, I'm not saying not to acquire the animals that you want to acquire and the projects you want to work with, but you have to keep in the back of your head, you have to understand that for every female that you breed, expect that number of snakes to grow by 6. On average, you're gonna have six eggs per clutch. So if you breed 10 females, you need to be prepared for 60 babies. Now, I know that you need to be prepared for 60 rat pups, you need to be prepared for 60 extra bin slots, because these babies don't fly off the shelves instantly, especially when you don't really have a name for yourself. Number 2 is honestly just to work with what you like. I always get asked, should I get into ultramels? Should I get into pieds? Should I get into clowns or puzzles or whatever the case may be? And that question's hard for me to answer, because for me, absolutely you should get into clowns and absolutely you should be into pieds. I really like those two genes, but some people don't necessarily like clowns. I know a couple guys who don't like clowns, and so they're not working with them. I think the biggest thing you guys should be doing is working with what you like. I think it's really important, and when it comes time to sell your animals and sell your all of that hard work that you put into raising them and breeding them, and you finally get eggs and you finally get your babies, you want to make sure it's something that you enjoy working with and a project that you really like. When you go to sell those babies, your enthusiasm and you can just feel it when somebody really likes a project, and that sort of enthusiasm is really contagious. When someone's really enthusiastic about a project, I start to kind of think wait, are they seeing something I'm not? Is that going to do something really cool? It's a really contagious feeling. When someone else is excited about a project that you're working with and you're excited about it, and everybody starts to get excited, and that's how hype starts. And I think that's really important. Work with what you like, because when you do go to sell these animals, you're really enthusiastic and passionate about the animals that you are working with. Picking a project, we did a video on sort of how to pick your projects, but I would personally start with a recessive. I would base your projects around a recessive gene and then add genes that you also enjoy working with into your recessive projects. The more complicated and more difficult it is to make a snake, generally, the more value that it retains. I've seen guys get in thinking, I'll buy this $1,000 male and I'll breed them to my females and I'll make 10 of them and they'll all be worth $1,000. Well, in the codom game, because of how easy they are to replicate, they do start to drop in price. So that's why I sort of tend to stick towards recessives, and I also think that recessives, as a general rule, throw some much more impressive combos than some of just the standard codoms. So I would personally start with just females. Right off the bat, just females. Now, if you have the opportunity to grab another breeder's, let's say he's letting go, or he or she is letting go of some of their older breeding stock or stuff that doesn't fit their plans, don't think for a second that those animals aren't good for you. Just because a pastel necessarily doesn't work for my collection, it's maybe great for someone who's just starting off and just wants to get their feet wet breeding these animals. So don't turn your nose up to I shouldn't say retired breeders. Just don't turn your nose up to people selling proven breeders. It's a really great way to fast track to the actual breeding process. However, I think there's a ton of value, and you will learn a lot simply by keeping these animals from baby to adult. You start to learn the animal, you start to know their feeding habits, you start to know, oh, it's normal, she sits in her water bowl. I have some snakes that just do that. They like to soak, and other ones that never do it ever. It's just two different snakes. And the next biggest thing is honestly to just have patience. That's the number one thing in this whole operation. The ball python game requires patience, because you need to start looking 3, 4, 5 years ahead and actually have the patience and the determination to stick it through. Work right through those 5 years. One of the big things that I see with new breeders, especially like first, second year breeders, is I see the first year that they do it, they have great success. It's amazing. Everything goes for them, and they never get a slug. They don't get any issues. They don't get egg-bound females. They don't get any problems at all. And so they think like, this is amazing. This is super easy. And then the second year, they hit that roadblock. They stumble a little bit. They have to be people. We all have to understand that we're dealing with live animals, so we can't guarantee a clutch every year from the same female. Sometimes it takes a lot out of them. They do need time to recoup from that. And if you're not getting those females back up to proper weight, and I just find that the second year, first year, a lot of people generally have a ton of success. And it seems super easy for them, and they think this is easy, this is a cakewalk, I'm gonna walk right through this. And then it's year 2 that it hits them again, when it's repeat all that breeding process, but with stuff that you've grown up, stuff that's not quite of size. I just see a lot of second year breeders hit that roadblock, get frustrated, and that's when they dump stuff. And that's when they say, you know what, this isn't for me, I can't do it. And anybody can do this. Really, it's not that hard. It's really just patience. Patience, take care of your animals properly, feed them properly, give them proper conditions, introduce them at the right times, put your males in with your girls at the right weights, and they will breed. But don't get frustrated when they don't. It is frustrating, guys. Trust me, I understand. I've got males that just aren't doing it, and I would really, really like them to do it. But that's just the name of the game. After 12 or 13 years doing this, you start to understand. You start to see the patterns, and you start to see, like, you know what? If it doesn't go this year, it will go next year. I'm not that worried about it. Being 1 year ahead doesn't really make or break anything, to be totally honest with you. So just have patience, guys. Push through it, and you will have success. Be passionate about your projects and work with stuff you like. I hope you guys all enjoyed this, and we'll see you this weekend, and we'll show you guys some actual snakes this time. Take care, guys.